Hi guys, and welcome back for another video here at Rookie's Vape Spot. Today we'll be taking a look at the Merlin Mini by Ogvape. So I've had the Merlin Mini for about 2 weeks right now, and I really wanted to take my time with it because I heard from a lot of people that they really enjoyed this tank, and that basically the mouth to lung experience is the same as the direct lung hit experience. So I actually just wanted to take some time with it, test all the builds, all the options the tank gives you. And I think I'm pretty okay now with talking about this tank. So I did get this tank from the Fine Folks from MTM store for the purposes of this review, and I will leave all the links down in the description box below as where you can get it. I think they're currently out of stock, but they should restock pretty soon. So the plan for today's video is basically show you what comes in a box, and then we'll go through all the different types of builds that you can put inside, as well as all the different types of airflow options that this tank gives you. So without further ado, let's go down to the table and have a closer look at the Merlin Mini. Okay guys, and here we are up close and personal with the Merlin Mini RTA. On this side you will find a sticker seal with some scratch and check authenticity code. Once you break it, you actually open the package here. On the top here we have Ogvape, their logo. On the side some contact infos here, Merlin Mini RTA on this side, and on the bottom we will find some infos about the device itself. So let's open it up. This comes in a really nice presentation tube. On top we do have a contest sticker here. You can put that away. Right next to it we have the Allen key here. Inside the top here we will find the Merlin Mini RTA as is. And then underneath, if you can get it out, we have an extra replacement glass with a bag of extra goodies. And underneath that one there is another thing, and that is actually the two-post design. This one actually comes installed in the tank without the coils, of course, but I've prepared this dual coil deck for the purposes of this review, so we'll test it out a little bit later and I'll tell you what I think about it. So let's put this aside for now. Let's take a look at what comes in the tank itself. So I've been using this tank for about a little less than 2 weeks now. So to go from top to bottom, we do have an removable 510 drip tip. It's actually wide bore, but it's really comfortable in your mouth. And then to move on top we do have the top filling system. Just unscrew the top cap, and I really have to say the threads on these are amazingly smooth and easy to use. This is the glass tank section here. On the bottom we do have adjustable airflow. It stops in both ways, which is nice in case you need to get a grip on it. And to open that one up, inside you will see the build that I was using for now. We can look at the chimney section here too, and the bell cap. We can take a look at the bell and the chimney section here inside. So the tank holds 2 mils of e-juice, which is basically, if you're using it in the dual deck configuration, you'll go through that in a matter of like 15-20 minutes tops. But if you're using it in a single coil, you can get some vape time with it. So to open it up more, you can actually get this tank section here apart too. So this top part unscrews from this bottom part, and then you can actually replace your glass section if you would ever need to do so. So, and here is actually the coil that I've built for this one. This one does have the air restriction of 2 millimeters inside. I will show you in another close-up how to take this one out and how to insert another one or go without it. But this is essentially what it is. So we do have a velocity style deck here, and the juice flow holes are right underneath this wick. I will show you all the wicking, as I said, in another close-up, but for now I just wanted to show you how this one looks and how it's set up. This is a 2.5 millimeter coil, 28 gauge wire, about 6 wraps, and this one is actually performing really nicely. So let's put this back together, go back to top, I'll show you how this one vapes, and then we'll go back to another close-up. Okay guys, and that was a closer look at the Merlin Mini RTA by Ogvape. Inside I do have the 2mm airflow hole insert, so I'll just show you how this one vapes. Now you can get a really restricted direct lung hit with this insert, but it's definitely somewhere in the middle. You cannot really get a too comfortable direct lung hit with it, and the mouth to lung experience is actually pretty open with this insert. But nonetheless, you can get it. One thing that you can do actually is tighten down the airflow from the outside a bit, and that will give you basically a much different experience. Another thing is that this drip tip isn't actually made that much for mouth to lung, it's more for the direct lung hit experience. So I'm gonna put a smaller drip tip inside. This is much better now. I will just close down the airflow a little bit more. So if you're somewhere in the middle with airflow, I suggest you put this one inside. Don't forget that an comfortable direct lung hit you won't be able to get out of this. But if you're somewhere, if you like a more looser mouth to lung draw, this is definitely the insert you want to go with. And as far as the flavor and everything, I think this works really good, especially with some not so thick wires. I'm using a 28 gauge wire inside, coming out to 1 ohms at 17.5 watts. Now opening it up. And even if you let some air in next to your drip tip, like, I think it's a really nice experience. Generally saying all the whole experience with the inserts is really good for me. So what I want to show you now is we're gonna go back down and I will remove the air inserts and make this a 4mm hole. So we'll basically see how this functions without the inserts. Okay guys, and we're back now with this single coil that I've just tested out. What I want to do now actually is I will try and remove the airflow pin without removing the build. So just hold on to that. I will need a flathead screwdriver for that. Maybe I can use the build so I don't have to rebuild it, just to show you. So I will just lift the coil up like so. I will then take my screwdriver and basically unscrew this part here. Of course, it's much easier to do if you don't have a build inside. So I think it's coming out. Just push it out to the side. Okay, this is basically the 2mm airflow screw here. Inside the package you will also find another one. This is the 1.5mm airflow hole screw. In the bag itself you will also find some other O-rings and other screws in case you lose some of them. So now we've taken out this 2mm airflow hole screw, and I will try and reposition my coil as is above this one. Should still work pretty nicely. Also put in the wicks itself. So, and the airflow hole underneath this one is actually I think it's supposed to be 4mm or so. So this should give you basically enough airflow if you are using the single coil setup like this. Of course, with bigger airflow, you can also basically use some thicker gauge wires or even Clapton or other kinds of fancy builds in this. But this one will work now good for demonstration purposes. So let me put this back together again. As you can see here, they do have some type of juice flow control. Opening up the windows in this single coil build, 2 of those will be basically cut off, but the other 2 are open. So in order to fill the tank, we will just actually close this one and then we'll fill the tank itself. I will just put in a little bit of juice, screw back the top cap. This is pretty easy as well. Okay. And then I'll just open up the juice flow here and of course the airflow. Let's leave it fully open. And as you can see, the tank is now ready to be vaped. I will go back to FaceTime now and show you how this one performs. So now we're back with this single coil without any airflow restriction screws inserted, and you do get a lot of airflow. You can get a really comfortable direct lung hit with this one. Might even put up the wattage. Let's go to 20 watts. So I haven't had any problems with wicking or anything. So what I can say about this tank is that the least that I like it is actually without any airflow restriction. Simply because I think the 4mm hole is a little bit too big for some standard builds. I'm not sure if how much flavor increase you can get with some Clapton or staggered Clapton coils and stuff like that. I don't have any of those to test out and not really the tools to build it right now, but I kind of like it. I think the flavor vanishes a little bit with that much airflow, and even if you restrict it down with the outside airflow, the only thing actually that you get is a louder tank in my experience. So the tank is much more smooth either with the dual coil setup or with the airflow restriction. It's the loudest in my personal experience without any airflow restriction inside. So even if you leave this open all the way, it's gonna be less noisy than when you put it down a little bit. Let me just show you. So yeah, the least setup that I like in this tank is without any airflow restriction on the single coil deck. So having that said, let's go back down to the table and I will insert the full mouth to lung screw, the 1.5mm screw, and then we'll put in another different build with some thinner wire and we'll see how the mouth to lung experience is. Okay, so let's open up this tank. I will just leave this one filled up and now we'll actually remove the coil that I was using until now. So I have here some, I'm not really sure, it's a really thin wire, but that's actually exactly what we are looking for right now for the mouth to lung experience. If you're an old school type of vapor and you like some higher resistance with some thinner wires, I think this is a really good option for you. Let me just take out the 1.5mm screw here and we'll screw this onto the deck section. So as you can see, the deck section is here. So now I will take this one, let's put it inside. And in case you're wondering if the 1.5 or the 2mm or the without airflow restriction option is for you, you can basically test it out like so, you know, just screw the different types of screws inside and screw back the tank, and without putting in the build, just test out the airflow and see what suits you best. So right now we do have this one installed. The velocity deck here is ready to go too, and I will take this 2.5 millimeter screwdriver and then just make a quick coil. Let's go 6 reps. Another potential con is what I found with this tank is basically that the velocity deck functions best with a little bit thicker wires. They tend to clip thinner wires, especially. I'm not sure if it's about the screws or something, but it did happen to me quite a few times, so just be aware of that. Now I will just place the screwdriver here and then I will tighten down the leads of my build. And as I said, don't over tighten it because you might end up with a clipped lead and then you have to do it all over again. So as soon as this one starts rising up, I will just leave it like this. Tighten up the other one as well. That should about do it. We'll clean up the build a little bit later. For now, let's just leave it like this. Actually, it could maybe... Okay. Now this is a really thin wire, so I can just clip it with my scissors, like so. So, okay. Now let's test it out. I have it at 1.7 ohms. I think this is going to be fantastic for a mouth-to-lung vape, and I will leave it at 14 watts. Okay, this looks good. I will just compress it a little bit. That should be working pretty good. One thing that you just want to take care of is that this is actually directly above your airflow hole, leaving approximately like 2 millimeters from underneath or so, just so the air can hit your coil as supposed to. Now I'll take some cotton. Okay. Yeah, it's really okay. Looking good. Clipping those cotton, you want to actually get them inside those juice flow holes right here, right down to this channel. So if you don't do this, you will definitely get some flooding. So just take a fair amount of cotton, leave it there. I haven't found it that you can put too much cotton inside, so whatever works for you best, but just keep those holes stuffed. What also happened to me basically is if I put too less cotton inside, the pressure that builds up from sucking in the juice basically lifts the cotton up, and you might be aware of that too. So just use enough cotton. Looking good on this side. Let's put this side back in. No, just gently stuff it inside. Looking good. So let's just juice up the coil. And we do have vapor. Okay, let's put this back together again. Oh, and another thing that I will immediately do is basically replace this strip tip, because for a really nice mouth-to-lung experience, this strip tip is not what you want. I would suggest you take something smaller. I'm using this small black Delrin drip tip on my Kayfun Mini, so I will put this one inside. And this will be actually really nice for that perfect mouth-to-lung experience. So let's go back to top, have a vape, and talk a little bit more about it. Okay, and I do have the 1.5 millimeter airflow screw installed right now. Let's give it a test. So 1.73 ohms at 14 watts. That should really give you enough battery life through the day and save up on your juice. Really nice. So if you're into higher nic juices, especially some tobacco-y flavors or maybe even some naturally extracted tobaccos, this is definitely a nice build to enjoy juices like that. I would definitely consider higher nic juice, at least like a 12 or so, for that perfect throat hit. And another pro for this 1.5 millimeter airflow screw is that it's basically silent. I'm not sure if you can see. So I will open up this airflow from the outside, fully open, and it's basically silent. I will go to the mic now. I'm not even sure if you can hear that. Yeah. So this is actually the first tank in a long time that I really enjoy a nice mouth to lung experience. If you're on a lookout for a, I would even say budget tank that suits all your needs, if you're into direct lung hits and mouth to lung, this is definitely an option to go. I really enjoyed the mouth to lung experience with this tank. And vapor production is still there. Having that said, I didn't experience any issues wicking or gurgling or spit back or anything with this setup. So this is at 14 watts. Really nice, really nice. And it's really restricted as well. This can basically only be used for mouth to lung. And what I found out in this configuration, the juice capacity in this tank is actually okay for what it is. If you use lower ohm builds and some bigger builds and stuff like that, you will go through this 2 mils of juice instantaneously. Like this, I can actually go out and enjoy a nice vape for a longer period of time. Really nice. Let's go back down to the table and I will put in the dual coil build and insert the dual coil deck, so I will just show you how this one works. Then we'll wick it and we'll talk a little more about it, and then we'll wrap this whole video up. Okay, and we're back down at the table. I will just remove the small drift tip and install the bigger one. We'll need this one now. And then I will just unscrew the tank here. So now to insert or to install the dual coil deck section, all you basically need to do is just unscrew this part here as is. Just use a paper towel since it's pretty slippery from the e-juice I was using. And like this you can actually, you know, hold on to your builds and just switch if you're into direct lung hits. So as you can see, I will just compare those two sections here. This one does get the airflow from this center pin here. So this is gold plated and it actually runs right through the middle of this base here. While this deck section, it gets the airflow from underneath, from those two holes here, coming out right underneath the coils that you installed. So I did pre-install these coils just to make this part quicker. Well, I'll show you now. We do have a cup here. We can clean it out just, you know, to get some excess juice if it ever builds up in here. So this is a closer look at the cup inside and the airflow rings here on the bottom. So now to screw in the dual coil deck section, we'll just use this one. Screw it in. Okay. And this is working pretty nice. Let's check the resistance on this. It's 0.44 ohms. It's looking good. Let's go up with the wattage. Let's dry burn them just for a quick second. It was warming up, and yes, blowing nice and evenly. So let's wick this one. Same goes here. You cannot really overdo it with the cotton, so just use a fair amount. So I will cut this like so. That should actually be okay. As well. Okay, like so. I don't think you can go wrong if you even leave it a little bit longer than this, but that should do it as well. So now repeat the process as before, just, you know, push in the cotton here on the sides. And now remember, you do have 4 holes here, so just make sure you do get enough cotton inside, because now you have 4 holes that this can leak on you. Now you just want to have those juice flow holes blocked here. Okay, looking good. Now let's juice this up, test fire it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. And we do have vapor. Okay, so we'll put this back together again. Yeah, one thing that when you fill up the tank, you do get sometimes this excess juice just, you know, being squeezed out here at the top cap. So if you're kind of having problems or issues with that, just be aware that that does happen. Okay, let's go back to top, have a vape, and talk a little bit more about it. Okay guys, and we're back. I do have the dual coil installed, reading out to 0.43 ohms. Let's test it out. Press it. So, given just the vape experience, I really do enjoy it like this. The downsides, of course, is that this juice will disappear like in an instant, and your battery life, if you have a single 18650 battery mod, you will go through the battery like really quickly. I do have this now at 39 watts. I can even go a little bit higher, even 40, 50, so even 60 watts, but maybe let's restrict the airflow a little bit. And that makes sense now, the airflow restriction on this dual coil setup. You can really kind of set up the tank in order to give you your vapor and flavor production as you wish. So my favorite setups for this tank is, if I go with the direct lung hits, I do enjoy the dual coils the most, dual Clapton's coils inside. If I go with the mouth to lung, I do prefer the 1.5mm. It's a really strict, nice mouth to lung hit experience. With some thinner wires, as I did the build inside, you can really, you know, increase your battery life and decrease your juice consumption dramatically. So just keep that in mind. So now let's talk a little bit about some other specs that we do have for this device. So this is a 24mm device. As you can see, this one looks really perfectly, it's like it's meant to be sitting on this VT75 Nano. So it's 24 by 42.3mm in height, a 304 stainless steel, but now it does come with a lot of extra goodies. You have a replacement glass, 2 deck sections, plus 2 different airflow control screws that you can put inside. The decks are Velocity style, both of them. You might have some troubles with thinner wires, but as long as you don't over tighten them, you should be good to go. The center posts are gold plated, as you could see as well. And given all that, this really gives you, for this price point, a really nice all-around tank that you can use for all different kinds of purposes. What I have to say, when I first tried this, I was really impressed with the flavor that this tank gave you. I mean, the dual coil setup is really impressive. Single coil as well. I've tried it with some natural extracted tobaccos as well, and it's just blown my mind. Let's go to the price point. So you can get this for 34.29 euros at the MTM store online, or 250 kunas approximately. It's really a steal, and I can only really highly recommend this tank for all of you who want to try something new, especially the ones of you who do enjoy a mouth to lung experience, and this kit is definitely something that you have to try. The price is there. The build quality of this tank is, I wouldn't say amazing, but it's so much better than a lot of the other things that I've tried. I mean, the threading itself is so smooth that it's not really comparable to other tanks in this category. So I think it really takes the cake. Having that said, I think that this will basically concludes this video. I'm sorry if I did forget to mention something. If I did, you can ask me down in the comment section below. I think that this one will definitely stay in my daily rotation from now on, and we'll see where this takes me. So, and having that said, a big thank you goes out to MTM Store for supporting my channel and for making this review possible. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would mean a lot to me. Please feel free to follow me on my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter account. I'm wishing you all a wonderful rest of the day. Let's keep on vaping, and I'll see you again pretty soon.